Welcome back to The Great Journey.
The
Great journey.
Great
We're
journey.
6 friends dedicated to re-exploring the vast universe of Halo, one installment at a time. We'll be covering the books, graphic novels, films, and of course the games. And we'll be discussing, learning, and reminiscing along the way. My name is Robby. Please welcome our fellow hosts, Jim, James, Tom, Will, and Charlie. We're back to full strength, baby. Welcome back.
Ooh.
Yeah, woo.
Woo.
Have everyone here.
Yeah, good to have a full squad. First time in a while. But last episode we read chapters 7 through 12 of Contact Harvest. Here's where we left off. Alsigny is revealed to be an Oni operative, dispatching Johnson and Byrne to confront whomever was attacking freighters from Planet Harvest. Humanity's struggles compound as they make first contact with an aggressive alien race. Although Dadab and lighter than some are able to escape the ambush, they fall into the clutches of another crew of brutes, captained by Macabubs. Back on the Covenant homeworld, High Charity, the seeds of a coup come to fruition as the prophet pair, Minister of Fortitude and the Vice Minister of Tranquility, plan to take advantage of the secret Forerunner relics revealed on the human colony world. Meanwhile, the AI Mac reveals he could also provide planetary protection by transforming into the dormant AI Loki, and Sif agrees to work together to begin preparing Harvest for attack. So, we're gearing up for some more exciting chapters tonight, but before we proceed, it's time for our rebranded segment. Actually, this serves as our chance to get any unresolved questions answered and or correct anything we might have said in error. We are learning as we go along, and we strive to get the facts straight. So, first off, James asked how specific luminaries are, given they recognize thousands of artifacts but can't identify what they are exactly. Although there is no specific answer or response from Ethics Gradient, I should re-say that, ethics_gradient on Reddit may help get some clarity. Luminary can be interpreted as a general term for Forerunner devices that identify Forerunner relics. Some get reverse engineered well, others don't. Some were meant to catalog a wide variety of technologies, and others are made with more specific interests in mind. How detailed of a scan you get depends on the original purpose and the skills behind whoever is trying to reverse engineer it.
Yeah, so given that the Covenant is reverse engineering a lot of these Forerunner devices, it's fair to say that, some of them were engineered really well, and probably can be more specific, and the other ones, might not. So I guess it's completely up in the air as to how specific it gets.
So it almost seems like they whatever they reverse engineer, they think there's something similar, right?
I
Whether it's
suppose.
maybe they give false positives.
It could too, yeah, I suppose, yeah.
Moving on, we had asked if Harvest was the furthest colony from Earth, and according to Halopedia, it is indeed the furthest in the year 2525, and I think we also caught that in our most recent reading as well. And then finally, last episode we discussed the 7 rings and the Covenant's 7 ages, and we asked if the ages actually represented the name of the Halo rings. The answer is no. In fact, what we heard was known as the progression of ages. Per Halopedia, the progression of the ages is a ceremony performed by any devout Jiralhani follower of the Great Journey before a meal or important undertaking. During the ceremony, the leader of the group steps through rings of obsidian, iron, jade, geodes, opal, and other stones, each representing an age of the covenant. So, in fact, the names we heard: age of abandonment, conflict, reconciliation, discovery, conversion, doubt, and reclamation are the name of the covenant ages that have passed. Ages which are defined by major events and do not have set durations. Very interesting. But with that, we move into the media. Tonight we cover the next 6 chapters of Contact Harvest, chapters 13 through 17. Chapter 13. The Colonial Militia troopers undergo their first live fire training exercise. Their orders to protect Harvest's reactor complex from capture. The targets Johnson and Byrne work to infiltrate and eliminate the trainees. The pair use distraction and fast attacks, and much of the militia unit flounders. However, with some quick thinking and teamwork from the sharpshooter duo of privates Jenkins and Forcell, they are able to wound Johnson and stall the attack. Ponder interrupts the exercise and announces to Johnson and Byrne that the Covenant are back, and this time with a much bigger ship. In Chapter 14. Back on board Rapid Conversion, Dadab tries to make himself useful while Lighter Than Some repairs the vessel's damaged dropship. As they exit slipspace back near Harvest, Macabub summons the grunt to the bridge to request his input on new findings. It appears that the humans left a message for them indicating peaceful conduct and a place to meet. More importantly, the ship has also registered hundreds of thousands of Forerunner illuminations on the planet, including what appears to be referred as an oracle. Despite urged caution from Tartarus, the crew agrees to accept the humans' invitation. So, starting off with chapter 13, we get we're pretty much set right into a firefight.
Not a real one though. It's kind of like
Not
a
a
What
real one.
fake
was
one.
I the only person who thought it was they were actually under attack at first? Was it just me or
No, I kind of had that same idea too. Just thought they were just thrown into the Covenant breaching ground or something.
Yeah, it was a sudden transition, and without context, you'd be like, "What the hell is Johnson trying to sneak up on?" Sort of thing. But ultimately, it's a look into, I guess, how unprepared this militia is gonna be, and b that they're screwed essentially. I guess A and B are the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, how many militia members are there? What, like 60? 100?
Certainly doesn't
Not
sound
Is
many.
like
it
a
even
lot.
that many? It
Yeah.
sounds like it's like 30 or something.
yeah,
30?
I think it's
Yeah, not a whole lot, right?
30 or 40, I think.
I thought like each staff sergeant had like 34, if I remember correctly.
Oh, you might be right, Rob.
Okay. So about 60, 70
Or
then.
33 because the Johnson and Burns had to get 34 before the trainees got one.
Yeah, I think
That sounds about
yeah,
right,
so
yeah.
it'd be close to 100 across. There's 3 of them, right? So,
I think there's only 2. It's just Johnson and Byrne, right?
I have to go back through that. Isn't there 3 of them in who
The guy that wanted to go to the club.
Oh, that guy.
And
There's
yeah.
Healy, but he's the corpsman. He's like the medic. He's
okay,
not in charge of
Oh,
soldiers.
and he was just working with Johnson and Byron?
Yeah. Yeah, he's like the medic.
Okay, that's where I was getting a little confused then. Okay.
But it is confusing because I think they said he technically has the same rank as Johnson.
Yeah, I thought during this chapter that there was 3 of them. Okay. I do love, uh the fake rounds, how it's like paintball, but then you get paralyzed from it depending on where you get hit.
That seems like really fun.
Also in this exercise, I kind of like the whole weird car bomb approach. Like you're showing the skill of Johnson and Byron, like doing what they know best against these like militiamen who have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah, it also felt that car bomb felt very like insurrection-y. Like
Yeah,
it felt like
exactly.
a
Yeah.
total like any tactic that they've seen.
You saying that makes me think that maybe that's not the best way to train these guys right now. I mean, if they were just training for insurrectionists, sure,
For an alien invasion.
but Johnson, Byrne, and Ponder know what's really coming down the pipeline. So You think the Covenant's gonna roll up in an Impala?
They do, but they also like
I
they
mean,
don't know
they know what they
an
Beep
have
beep,
Impala.
they have
motherfuckers.
no idea. Like, right? Go ahead, Jim.
Who knows? Maybe a grunt Ubers over or
Like,
something.
I was just gonna say like they don't know what they don't know at this point. All they know is that
yeah, exactly.
all they know is that like there's
Fair.
aliens, so they don't know what they don't know.
Yeah, they know there's ugly bug-like things that also fly ships and have guns. That's it, right? At this point, they really have no idea what their kind of fighting tactics are or anything like that.
I think you're making a good point, but I'm also thinking like it might just at the end of the day just be about like how they can handle a stressful situation.
That's fair.
Yeah,
And get them ready for like diversions, and because they might not just come straight through the gate, they might have a team that tries to flank them.
They also don't want these militiamen who volunteered to just like quit.
that's a good point too. Yeah, right. Freak the fuck out.
One saving grace of this cluster F of a drill was it seems that Jenkins, who we keep getting who we touch on a lot, it seems so far, this Jenkins and 4-cell combo seem to be they know what's going on. They can handle those situations and work together. So at least it's not completely, a bunch of idiots.
I think I brought this up when we were reading The Fall of Reach. Is Jenkins is also in that book. When John goes, I think, to get the nav information from the circumference, Jenkins is mentioned being there with Johnson. And I think I brought it up, I'm not sure, but in the Halo game, when you're introduced to the Flood, the Master Chief puts like the chip in his head and he's seeing a video feed, and the video feed in the corner says like Jenkins, so he's like watching Jenkins' feed. And I'm pretty sure this is like the same Jenkins they keep on referring to throughout these books.
That's a fun
I was
Easter
gonna
egg.
say the same thing. I think that is the Jenkins from Halo CE.
Yeah.
I hope we see more of them then.
So we get Jenkins' backstory.
Yeah, is this just like it's just all set up for some Jenkins book, Jenkins storyline?
Kind of transitioning a little. I thought it was kind of funny. Byrne was like, the TTR round just splattered on the wheel and got me. Just bullshit. It just seemed like kind of part of his character to just kind of not be happy with the loss, even though Johnson was kind of proud of his tag team of Jenkins and Forcell. Just seemed like a big dad moment when
Very much so.
Johnson saw Jenkins and Forcell just flanking him. Like, just felt proud. They're gonna try to beat the old man. But chapter 14, shall we talk a little bit about that one?
Yeah, let's. I guess the one question I have is I think we've heard this a few times is Oracle. They keep bringing up Oracle. It's something very big, something important to the Covenant so far, and just curious what that may be.
It's I'm assuming it's like Guilty Spark, right?
Yeah, ultimately, we're going to touch on it in a later chapter. It is a Forerunner monitor. That's what they call it. So yeah, like a guilty spark.
Yeah, or like because they mentioned later, they're like it kind of looks like a cantaloupe. And I was like, oh, okay.
Floating cantaloupe. Apparently there's one on the surface at Harvest, so that's interesting. Still haven't had that answered yet. What that's about?
Yeah, I mean, I guess my theory is kind of similar to what James is. What Oracle could be, not human.
I thought more about it, and there's thoughts I have, but I will hold off sharing them for now.
Yeah. All right, shall we move on?
I just want to say that the Dob, he's such a cool guy. I like him.
Adopt's cool.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
lighter than some. I just wanted to say that this chapter lighter than some. He felt so guilty about killing the human. He thinks that humans are mad at him. He makes like a peace offering thing. It's like a little model of one of the harvester contraptions on the planet.
The Jotuns.
Jotuns,
Yeah,
they
the
call 'em, yeah.
Jotun, and he's like, "Hey, Dadab, do you think that they would like this sort of thing?" And Dadav's like, dude, you can't be working on that anymore. I just thought it was funny and interesting that
Get that shit out of here.
yeah, that he feels so bad he makes like a little robot thing he wants to provide as a peace offering, which it might have come in handy later. It should have come in handy maybe.
Really cool with the ergot is like Larry and Sam had no idea what this harvesting rig really is like used for or like point of it, and yet he still fixes it and like makes it functional in a way that like humans would. It's kind of crazy how they can dissect human technology like that and then like recreate it.
I don't know if you guys discussed this in our last episode, but because I wasn't on, but it seems like the brutes, like they get like the crappiest ship, like the dumbest grunts to work on the ship. Seems like they're pretty low on the pecking order.
I think we talked compared to like the Sing Healy, they're getting the scraps essentially, and that we're calling Maccabeus Macabubs in case you haven't caught up on that yet. um, Macabubs is trying to put his ship as pristine and tip top as possible given his circumstances.
Well,
Uh,
they have a lot of honor. So I mean you can see that through as we read on. They have a lot of honor and culture and ceremonial aspects to their race.
it's cool that they communicate a lot with scent, and it changes, depending on
Yeah, yeah.
feeling.
Gives it a little bit more of that, like, I don't wanna call it beast-like, but there's a lot of references, and the book kinda calls it and describes it that way, right? But in terms of, like, their hierarchy, they're under the Sangheili, but, like, they're not the lowest pole on
Sure.
the totem pole,
Yeah.
right? Like, they're not the lowest part, like, no other species, as far as we know at least now, gets to command their own ships, right?
Kigyar specific like
The Kigyar.
yeah.
The jackals, she
Oh,
had a pretty
yeah.
Pretty
nice
much
Yeah,
ship.
everybody
you're
but the
right, you're
grunts,
right.
right?
She had her own ship. You're right, I
And
kept thinking that they were part of okay, you're right, you're right.
her ship wasn't like pillaged and ripped apart before she got it seems so like I guess
Her ship had lighter than some.
also Hergok, yeah. So I guess given context clues, the brutes are below the Kigyar.
Yeah, interesting. You're right.
I don't know if this was brought up in the last episode, but Tartarus, he's in this book.
Yeah, that was a
Super cool.
reveal.
He's Maccabeus' nephew.
Right. Well, let's keep going.
Yep. I'm moving on to chapter 15. Harvest's Botanical Gardens was selected to be the location of humanity's first parlay with an alien species. The meeting would consist of a display of amity, offerings of fruit, and a montage of humankind on harvest. However, the new alien species quickly appear uninterested and instead offer their tribute, an engraving showing the population centers around the planet. Assuming they mean to take their colony, the tense situation erupts to violence when shots suddenly ring out. Johnson gets further experience of their advanced weapons and shield technologies, and the aliens make their escape back to orbit. Switching perspective to the Covenant crew, it is revealed that an overeager grunt was first engaged, but the engagement was not a loss. Their onboard luminary confirmed the existence and location of the coveted Oracle.
Another mention of the Oracle. When I was reading this chapter, obviously I was excited because it is Contact Harvest. It is our first interactions with this alien enemy. And all I'm doing while reading this chapter is like this could have been handled so much better. It was stupid, I think, how it went down.
True.
Anyone agree with that?
I kind of liked how, like, I don't know, like how Johnson like took out his gun and showed him like emptying it out and then giving it to the dude, and then the Big Mac dude, he did the same thing, and they were kind of like getting a feel for each other.
It was building up.
Yeah,
I'll give it that.
I thought Johnson did it right. No, I think it was like Thune that was kind of mess it up. He's like, "Oh, it's a sphere. They want cantaloupes." Gives him a cantaloupe. It's like, what?
Well, it wasn't necessarily that blew it. It's just that the Covenant were going to screw 'em over regardless, right? Because they were sending other troops out
True.
to go and search around in the area. So I don't think it ever would have gone well.
It was doomed to failure.
Well, I think they're just looking for the luminaries, right? The relics.
Yeah.
How would you have done it differently, Charlie?
I guess I would have had a backup plan and not let them I guess their interactions is probably it is what it is, you know. They tried to reason with it with the brutes and without a language or with the language barrier and everything is probably misinterpreted or whatnot. But to then just let them like fly away. I mean, I think you would have like all your weapons like ready to go, take them out if you could, sort of thing.
Good point.
And
Yeah.
they just kind of like fire some shots and they're able to escape and who knows.
They did let him get away too easy.
Yeah, I
for
know
sure.
they had the Mac gun kind of decommissioned. Why didn't they try to get the Mac gun ready to go? That's kind of weird if you ask me.
Right.
It's like the first time that they find out they have like shields, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mentioned that they bullets wouldn't even get to their suit. It would just bounce off. But it did mention that the shield's depleted, right?
Yeah, for one of the brutes got pretty badly injured.
You guys, I wanted to ask you guys this. There was a little part like during the firefight where, in my mind, like a grunt ripped off the mask of another grunt and like took them into the river. Did you guys catch that?
Yeah.
Am I crazy? So does that mean
Right?
that?
Wasn't that the grunt that kind of started the whole conflict off, and they were just like killed him to punish him, or is there a separate?
I got the
instance?
vibe that he got injured and they didn't want him to get captured, so they're just like, we're taking you out.
Kill
Or
him.
maybe he
Yeah.
was even like, take me out, don't let these aliens like take me prisoner. That's like the vibe I got, but you might be
Yeah,
right.
the vibe I got was it was a brute, right, that tossed him in, right, into the water? It wasn't another
I
grunt,
thought
I
it was a
thought.
brute that did it.
I thought it was a grunt.
Alright, fact check time.
Grunt on grunt violence right here. I'm
Yeah,
trying
it's
to
gonna be
find.
another well, actually.
I thought it was one of the main brutes, and he like, the grunt got in his way, and he just kind of, like and maybe he was injured, and he just kinda chucked him into the into the pond. But, in terms of starting the whole incident, yeah, there are things in the chapter that call out that it was a grunt and got a little bit, trigger happy.
Okay, so I got it here. It says a lone straggler was now stumbling from the trees. One of its arms was slacked by its side and it seemed injured. Avery was about to finish off when the armored alien grabbed its wounded comrade by its nape of its neck, ripped off its mask, and flung it into the whirlpool. The creature sunk beneath the surface. So I think, yeah, the brute did kill the injured grunt. I'm not sure why, though. Like, did he not want him to take him prisoner, or what was going on?
I think it's literally a caste system of like, "Oh, well, you're injured and worthless to me. Like, how could you let these other aliens, aka humans, like, injure you? Get out of my way." I feel like a brute would just step on a grunt anyways if he got in his way, let alone coming out of a firefight. I literally think it's a caste thing, but
Well, the reason I kind of touched on it was my mind thought like there's a alien. As far as we know, it was just wounded and floated off down the river. So they have an alien on planet Harvest that they can capture. Essentially, is what I was thinking. I don't know. It seems too unimportant, or they just kind of gloss it over too quick. I think for it to be of any real significance.
did it actually float downriver or it? Because what Will just read it was it went into a whirlpool,
So it's sunk into the
right?
whirlpool.
It says the creature sunk beneath the surface, then bobbed up, clutching a pair of hissing tubes connected to a tank before it pitched into the next pool and tumbled towards the falls. So I guess there were some like little waterfalls or something.
All in all, it was a Crazy and shitty way to start this war.
Yeah, but oh my god, is it not so predictable almost how people act during an encounter like this? You have the politician trying to be a politician. You have, again, like, this idea of, like, "Oh, we have fruits and vegetables. They'll love fruits and vegetables." Like, and then over and over,
Yeah.
it just I don't know, it's just so I'm not saying it in a bad way, but, like, it's just funny how I can literally see that happening if humans now were to come in contact with the Covenant.
Going with what you're saying, like the politician being a politician, the spy being a spy, like showing that video to the brute, and the whole point was just to show him different images to see how he would react to the different images, just trying to gather information on them.
Just smart. I mean, they listed him as Mac in this situation, but we think that was currently Loki. You correct on that?
Probably, yeah.
He was just trying to see what's, like you said, what their response was to different images or things like that, which I think is smart. Clearly, the fruit basket, that didn't go over too well. So here we are.
Yeah. Oh, the monkey just wants fruit.
That's ONI for you right there.
Well, I mean,
No, I
was
thought that
that
was just
really that was the
the
politician
mayor of
dude.
Harvest.
We should have brought the ladyfingers.
Yeah,
Damn.
that was the mayor of Harvest. Like, no, he wants a cantaloupe. Look at
Yeah,
him.
you gotta give her the cantaloupe.
No, dumbass.
Yeah, smell it. Yeah.
Right? Like everybody else in the room was like, I don't know.
They don't look like they eat just fruits and vegetables. They like again, like that's like someone trying to tame a wild bear or like any other beast, and you can tell that thing doesn't give a shit about fruits and vegetables and cantaloupe. And yet you have people who are like, "Of course he does.
Hey, don't you
You can have all the cantaloupe you want."
don't you blaspheme on Macabubs? He's better than a bear.
I didn't mean to bring him down to the level of a bear. I'm just drawing similarities of how humans act in these kinds of situations. Um, I do like how, and now as I look back, when did the Covenant? What chapter did the Covenant actually see the frigate with the paintings on it, or was
That
that
was
last?
the last chapter. That's chapter
Yeah,
14.
yeah. I think just coming back to that briefly, like I thought that was interesting and neat. And then of course, the Covenant in this one has their own form of a painting, if you want to call it that, engraving, I guess I'll call it, of hey, we have a map of your whole planet. Give us what we want. I am curious though, because Macabus, he's a very, very intelligent dude, and I feel like he tries to like push that thought further than most of his species would, of like patience and trying to again have a little bit of going down the communication style of things and approach, where I am very curious if that one human didn't wander towards the other dropship and the grunts didn't get all anxious, where this could have went, right? There was a glimmer of hope there of like there could be some peace. Um, but yeah,
Food for thought.
Well, let's keep that going to chapter 16 here, because buckle up. We got a lot going on in this chapter.
Buckle up, buckaroos.
Back on board High Charity, the conniving pair of the Minister of Fortitude and the Vice Minister of Tranquility put their plan into motion. As they ascend to the upper levels of the Covenant homeworld, we learn more about the history of the Sanshayum, the existential threat facing their species, as well as the existing three hierarchs, one of which is revealed to have dark secret that the pair plan to exploit when they make their move to become hierarchs. But first, they must get the blessing of the Oracle. They visit the ancient Forerunner Monitor and its elderly overseer, the philologist. Its fortitude offers its illumination data from Harvest. The monitor jumps to life and bursts into a frenzy of crisis. The Oracle announced that the glyphs are reclaimers and responsible for its creation, and actually attempts to break free from its bonds. The vessel short circuits, shutting down the Oracle, and the three Sanshium are left to contemplate their new revelation. The Forerunner still exists, the Great Journey is a lie, and the Covenant is built on a falsehood. Meanwhile, back at
Great Journey.
Journey.
The great journey.
The great journey.
Meanwhile, back at Harvest, Sif follows orders to lie in wait, even as the alien enemy returns to the planet and begins to board the Tiara. Unable to keep quiet any longer, she raises the alarm only to get immediately silenced by Mac. Only it is not Mac, but Loki. Suddenly, new AI corrupts her, fries her hardware, and shuts her down for good.
Let's start there so we can talk more about the whole charity stuff. We think that Sif is KIA. She goner.
He's
I'm not
fucking
sure I
bro.
really understood that. If he killed
And
her or just messed her up for a little bit.
no, it
I think they said he saved like one data core or one something.
yeah,
So I don't
he
think she's
bit
gone. I think she's just like in like one hair's breadth away from death.
yeah, I think he
I-
shoved her into a flash drive and then unplugged the flash drive.
It's able to
You would-
use her.
That's basically what I got out of it. Like she went to like a little mini cold storage flash drive, and that's where she lives now.
You would think if you're like if your planet's under an alien attack, you'd want two AIs working on combating them instead of just one AI.
I mean, tell
but-
that to the other AI.
right.
I mean, this wasn't a human prerogative. This
I feel
was
like it was
a
because Oni. I was going to say, I think the reason that Loki did that was because it was like Oni directive to like try and keep this alien thing under wraps. That seems like very much what they would do.
yeah. That's my feeling. Like Loki is very Oni focused, and that's why he like also. I mean, the whole idea of Mac and Loki being sharing one kind of like infrastructure and hardware is interesting. But that's what I got from it too, right? There's the idea of making sure Sif doesn't send again when she raises the alarm, that got on silence to like make sure no one's really picking up on the covenant there. But also we don't know yet what the covenant would do to an AI if they found it and how much data they could get from it. So I think that was also part of it.
That's a good point too.
And in reality, like, what does Sif want anyone to do? Like, you have like a whole 100 militia on this planet, and you wait, like they're already boarding the Tiara. Like, what do you want them to do?
The
Oh,
humans have the like Shaw Fujikawa warp drive at this point, right?
Yeah, I mean,
So
yeah,
like
Yeah.
but
if
like,
Yep.
somebody at Harvest sent out an alarm and was like, "We're going to be coming in contact with aliens. Can you please just get some reinforcements on the way?" Then it wouldn't take very long for a bunch of UNSC ships to show up, right? I mean, obviously you
think
wouldn't do that because you don't want to appear as like hostile, but like
I think
theoretically
a
they could have
question.
called in
I
reinforcements.
thought earlier chapters we determined that it would take a while for even communication, the round trip communication aspect, let alone backup.
it was like 3
Wasn't
months, right? Something like 3 months. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit.
Oh, okay, so then never
Yeah,
mind.
like they are
All right,
back up.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of
got it.
that as an issue, and then the idea of we're harvest, we're friendly, we can deal with this on our own, which is so stupid. But
We're a bunch
so
of
be it.
Midwestern farmers.
It's
Yeah, right. We're gonna
again, leave it to humans to make their
hospitality them to
decisions
death.
on this.
We're gonna give them some cantaloupes and yeah.
Do we also ever really find out why Jenkins was sent to Harvest in the first place? Because obviously, like pans out that like they needed him to help with this potential alien thing. But like initially, why did they have him just go in there to train a militia? Did they ever really state that?
Well, the training the militia was out of finding out the aliens. Prior,
Yeah,
Johnson,
right.
right? They were all sent there for um potential insurrectionists when the freighters and the frigates were
It was an
being
insurrection. Okay.
commandeered. Yeah, and they didn't know what the reasoning behind that was. That was my
Gotcha.
understanding.
Yeah, that's a good question though.
Okay.
And but why did they include? Why did they? I don't think we ever got answered specifically why they brought Johnson and Byrne. Did we
And
get an answer to why both of them came together?
there was a
Mm,
scene with Captain Ponder. He was like being straight up with Johnson. He's like, "Look,
Yeah, right.
you want to know why you're here? So do I," sort of thing. Like they kind of like put this crew together without them knowing any of them knowing what was going on. They were all kind
well,
of
Isn't
I
it
think
explained that Jillian basically put them all together
yeah, but
to?
ultimately, I think the purpose was to do this black ops sort of missions against what they at that time thought was insurrectionists. So that's what I'm going with mentally. I
Sure,
think
but why Johnson and Byrne? Like, there's billions and billions of humans there. I'm sure there's millions of people in the military. Like, why these two guys that probably like she's from Oni. Like, she probably knows that there's bad blood between Johnson and Byrne.
yeah, but they were kind of spec opsy, right? And I think part of it could be a punishment to Johnson, right? Like, oh, we're gonna send you away to the farthest planet that we inhabit for this like insurrection possible issue. I could also see because now Johnson also doesn't have any family left.
But
So
why
it
Byrne?
could
Like,
kind
why
of
stuck with Byrne, the guy who got sent to the hospital and killed his entire crew?
And they got beef.
Like, that's clearly going to create like some sort of like
the tension behind
dysfunctional
it.
working
pre-
Yeah.
relationship.
pressure makes diamonds.
Like,
Yeah. Okay.
That's what we'll go with.
Yeah. Sure. All right.
Let's get to the meat and potatoes though here with what happened
Ah,
with our prophet brethren. What'd you guys think of this chapter? It was another one of those ones where you slam everything together.
There's so much court intrigue and political maneuvering going on in the Covenant that I would have never thought was going on.
bro, when there's power to be made, you're gonna get people who fight for that power, right? It Yeah, that chapter like kind of blew my mind. First off, the talks about like oh shoot, what's it called? The mating ritual period. I forget the actual official name, but that whole aspect I thought was very hysterical. The way they write the covenant in this book is very relatable in terms of like how like humans in general, right? Was it um Vice Minister Fortitude? Who was the one who was like basically he slept with like an ugly one, right? Like he made fun of her lack of neck. Like,
Yeah.
right? Like like that's just a crazy thing to
yeah.
throw in.
I think he called her a dull-eyed monstrosity. If she had a neck, I could not distinguish it from her foam.
Yeah, like right? Like
Well, so yeah, so
so that
from what I
go
understand,
ahead.
that was you're talking about the Vice Minister of Tranquility. We'll just call him Tranquility. These prophet names are so hard to keep straight, I think, so far. Um, so Tranquility is a prophet or is a Sanchayum that is allowed to reproduce. He has the right amount of genes or whatever it might be, right? So he sleeps with prophet of restraint's wife in order to produce children. Is this what I'm understanding? Because
Yeah.
But
the prophet of restraint didn't have the right genes, therefore he can't reproduce. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I thought the scandal was restraint was not allowed to reproduce, but he did reproduce.
And
Looks like
Yeah,
he was trying to keep
yeah.
that under wraps.
Yeah. I was talking
and
about
then they, like, kept that child. That was, like, one of the big but anyways, yeah, what you're saying, I think is true, Charlie. In terms of the gene side, I'll clear that up a bit. It's not, quote, unquote, "the right genes," it's, do you have too much common genes is what they were saying. Because the history here, right, is, like, they only left with 1,000 of their race, and so the inbreeding probability was high, and so they were trying to keep that low, and so, like, yeah, you have to have so many, like, you can't have too much percentage of common genes, to be part of that group.
What was it called again? If you had what list were you on? It was like the role of celibate or something, something crazy like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny.
Yeah, you're just
what
on a fucking scroll somewhere.
you
I was just gonna just add on to James's point earlier around this being a relatable like world to humans. Like this is if a particular piece of information was not the case, or they didn't find that out, like after this first contact, it seems like a world in which you could imagine humans fitting into very well, just with all the politics going on. Like it mirrors kind of our world.
yeah, I just think that they definitely have human I kind of said this last episode as well that they have human qualities, that make them flawed beings. Something that you don't really consider, I guess, when you're thinking about an alien species. Either media doesn't, touch into that sort of thing. We're getting a lot of background information here and definitely seeing that they're creatures that have the same desires or faults as a normal human. So, and I think that makes them good characters to build on.
Yeah, but crazy. Um, just one last point here because we've kind of called it out early on, in the book, which was kinda cool. Good job, Tom. That one, I love how the Oracle calls the prophets stupid for, "You guys can't read my glyphs, they're upside down, or the glyphs are upside down, you idiots," and then, like, it's all reclaimers, which who makes a glyph that has to be in a certain orientation to make sense? Whatever. But how the luminary markers are actually reclaimer glyphs, and that even he calls out, like, "They are my creators," hinting at, or basically, in my opinion, like, flat out saying that humans are a descendant or some type of descendant from forerunners. Um, and then I like how he tried to break free. And obviously, the whole aftermath of that was interesting.
So I think we should get into that in that I think Bungie's original vision was that the Forerunners were ancient humans, right? But I think, from my understanding, like 343 after they took over the franchise, they kind of took that into a different direction where the Forerunners are actually just a different species.
Yeah, it was never actually confirmed or not, but it was highly suspected that the Forerunners, at least Bungie's version of the Forerunners, were actually human. That's
And
why,
this book came out when Bungie was still running the franchise.
right? Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
So this book is blasphemous,
blasphemy. Yeah, we need to read it and
heresy.
then burn it.
I mean, I mean, but like, I always pictured Forerunners at that scenario, right? Like, they're human, obviously way more advanced, but obviously the flood is attacking them, and they need to spread the seeds and hopefully, find a planet that can pick back up and go from there, and Earth being one of them, right? That's how I always kind of pictured it happening.
Kind of like
But
the Kryptonians.
mhm. Because I mean that's way more realistic in my opinion, especially with, again, what we're talking about here with the luminaries and kind of like the connection to humans and why the Covenant have interest even in human planets and what humans possess, etc. Like it makes less sense that forerunners were a different species that like then what connection do humans have to like the whole story? It's a little weird.
It's like Prometheus.
That totally makes sense. And then also explains how the current humans could create their own sort of oracles that are what I assume are AIs like Mac and Sif. Uh, was I reading that correctly?
Oh,
Theory.
That's
I
kind of
mean,
how I was too. Yeah.
theory.
I mean, to be fair, we're not talking about this now. It I could see the twist in 343's light. I mean, when we start eventually talking about precursors and things like that, like, but I do like the idea that humans are descendants of forerunners, and there's that much more connection to them.
Agreed.
Yeah. It adds some mystery.
Mystery for now.
I guess the last point I want to bring up is that we talked a few times. I think Robby brought up some past episode the ironic names of characters and ships and things like that. Here we have we talked about him, the prophet of restraint, one of the three hierarchs currently that didn't show restraint and had a child when he wasn't supposed to. So once again, it's just those like ironic names that keep popping up left and right in this book.
Man, that's a
Right.
good
And the
catch.
Minister of Tranquility, is like he like has a gun, like whips it around and is
Yep,
like
definitely
a
not
loose
tranquil.
cannon.
Hothead.
The minister,
Yeah, hothead, that's what I was looking for.
minister of fortitude woke up with a huge ass hangover. He didn't have much
Spoke
fortitude.
too much.
Yep, spoke too much. We talked minor transgressions. We're just gonna steal some stuff. Those are the ones I can think of right now. Yeah, and I guess big point end of the chapter here is that even though these three Sanshayum, which again is fortitude, tranquility, and this new guy, this new old Sanshayum named the philologist. He heard all this information that the oracle said, and they now know that their religion is essentially a sham, but they're gonna keep it secret forward. So,
Well, they're worried people will think it's a sham.
oh no, they know it'll be a sham and it'll be the end of the covenant.
I
The
mean,
covenant's formed on the premise that they're gonna reach tranquility when they activate the rings. I guess is what they're trying to do, right? So that's the whole top tippy top of the whole covenant. So if that
yeah,
doesn't
but
actually
I
exist,
would, yeah, but
According to the
finding
Oracle.
but finding reclaimers, I don't know how that falsifies that idea, right? Like, okay, humans are reclaimers. They are forerunners for all aspects or creators of oracles, and that's like seeing your god,
Well,
right? Right in
because it
front of
means
you.
that they're
Like,
not the whole. They're not the chosen ones anymore.
well, they
It means that they're
never
not the covenant.
it's
Aren't
like
the
Kevin
chosen ones
never
anymore.
were. They just were trying to follow along on the great journey, right? Like
a
they
great
never thought they
journey.
were
A
chosen.
great journey.
A great journey.
Yeah, the coven never thought they were chosen in terms of this religion.
I guess also if the theory then is if the humans are somehow related to forerunners, then the forerunners never made the great journey.
that's
The
There's
great
still
journey.
remnants of
essentially
them left behind
That
in some
yeah,
way.
that's
It
yeah.
calls everything into question.
that's the crux of the whole issue. Then is if they were what's known as reclaimers, and they were supposed to go to reclamation or the afterlife or whatever you want to call it, and but they still exist. There's still a physical form of this person in the universe, which they just figured out. And that means that this great journey, quote quote, is doesn't really
Great
work.
journey.
Great journey
Great
doesn't
Great journey.
work.
journey.
So it is essentially the breaking point of their messed up religion here. Therefore, Big Fisher
Yeah,
in
I don't think kind of
covenant,
falls apart.
basis of a covenant, essentially. So it is a massive secret that they're gonna have to hold on to. I guess what I'm trying to say.
Oh, can we also talk about these like worm people for a second?
I mean,
W-
those are literally,
I thought those were just individual worms for the hunters.
yeah, that's the hunter race.
Oh, those are hunters? Oh shit, I never
Well,
knew this was
hunters
like
are made up
Yeah, yeah,
of
because the hunters are all
the
made up of those
colony
worms.
of them. Yeah.
what? I
So
had
each
no
hunter,
idea.
yeah. So that's why they're so hard to kill. So each hunter is made up of a colony of Legolo, right? And so what I found interesting and funny of that story is that in this, yeah, it's in this chapter,
Yeah.
is how when the Covenant discovered them, they were just, well, not all of them, but like each colony was very specific in terms of like what artifacts they would eat. And so they're just over there chowing down on, Forerunner devices and shit. But what I really want to know is like when I hear that, I'm like, are they eating like electronics or are they eating like a plate? Right? Like again, going back to the luminaries, like what does it pick up on? My opinion or my guess is it has to be like electronics or I don't know. I just find it interesting because as the Covenant reaches harvest and starts trying to find what the luminary is calling out, are there no, and probably not, like, is it that hard to find similarities between human made devices and potentially like what the Covenant has already discovered? And if so, I would assume that the Covenant would want to study humans interacting with all of these artifacts and be like, oh, they're not like destroying them, right? Like the Lekogel were like eating it. At least the humans aren't eating it. Like again, this gets brought up later in the book, so I won't bring it up. But I just find that interesting. Or we can
Megalogolo.
make it look cool.
This book goes into so much detail about the Covenant more than any of the other books that I've read.
Yeah, I really
Like,
like.
all this information about the hunters and how the Covenant found them, the mating rituals of the Shansoon, the mating rituals of the jackals, like everything.
Yeah, I think Eric Nylund's first strike. Also, I was hearing goes a little deep into Covenant history, if I'm not mistaken. But we're not there yet either, so I don't care at this moment.
Well, let's close this one up.
Let's do it.
Chapter 17. So we start part 3 of Contact Harvest. Johnson, Byrne, and Ponder work to evacuate the remaining refugees from Harvest's outer provinces as the alien dropship begins to destroy unprotected homesteads. With the help of Mac, or what appears to be Mac, they load the residents into cargo trains en route back to the capital city, Utgard. As the last group begins to board, the Marine pair notice a group of stragglers come under attack, and they race in to protect. Johnson pins the brute chieftain with the warthog, badly injuring the creature before retreating with a lone human survivor. Pursued by the dropship, Mac expertly destroys the vessel by sacrificing a fleet of autonomous farming machines, the Jotun. Safe for now, they reconsolidate back to the city, knowing that the battle is just beginning.
Acabubs got
Oh yeah.
fucked up.
Macabubs got fucked up.
I'm actually surprised Mechabubs because like when the Warthog opened fired on him, he wasn't taking that much damage. I'm kind of surprised by that. Like if we're gonna draw similarities between uh the games and just knowing how like brutes are definitely very powerful, but like there's a limit. You're getting shot with a minigun. Like, come on now. But I thought this chapter was a fun intro to this. I like the kind of like the effort that Mac, quote unquote, Mac is doing to help not only save people but also like put up a fighting chance against the Covenant. Overall, I thought it was good.
I mean, same thing with the Marines too. Like they're just trying to kind of consolidate what they can, go to a population center and I guess regroup sort of thing. And they're trying to fight as much as they can. That's why they jumped in.
Yeah,
Try to save that one group of stragglers or whatever.
I think this feels like a key backstory for Jenkins, because his parents were there, and they touched on it quite a bit in this chapter. Like, oh, did they make it through? And Mac's like, no, I haven't seen them. And then it kind of hints at the end that best thing that Johnson could say to Jenkins is that, like, I'm sorry, they're gone.
yeah. Treat him like not only an adult but also a Marine, and just rip that band-aid off. Apparently, yeah. I am curious, like in terms of like the people they were trying to save. Like, were there any significance to it? Obviously, they came away with this one lone survivor, and like there's a military thought of like, oh, I gotta protect everyone, but like also the amount of risk
Yeah.
doing that. That was interesting. Like,
Yeah, I don't think there's any significance to the one lone survivor they picked up. I think it was more so just reason for them to jump in and
yep,
actually fight one on one.
yeah, I pictured that too. And Mr. Macabus, he got all kinds of fucked up. They don't say it in this chapter, and I'm curious. Well, we'll see in future chapters what happens, but like the Covenant, they don't seem to have like artificial limbs or any of that kind of medical side of things. Like, I don't see them like going into healing chambers or anything like that. Now that Macabus got injured, like he just puts up with it like a badass.
They're also on a lone ship far away from their home planet as well. You know, what I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
it definitely seems like
Yeah.
you got this one little group of
And also one that's
Marines.
not fully equipped.
Yeah,
or
exactly. But you got like this lone group of Marines versus this lone group of like brutes fighting it out on the planet right now. It's kind of this like very early phase where it's just it's just small skirmishes almost. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. It's also interesting that like Macabus was even like down there in this tiny little group. Like it kind of calls out to how brutes operate, right? Like usually the commander of the ship wouldn't necessarily be down there leading the charge or like even taking a small little fighting squad, you know, to go do some havoc. But
Maybe Macabubs was just feeling a little cocky. It's like, yeah, they didn't do shit to me, or wanted revenge, maybe.
I don't like cantaloupe.
yeah, he's super pissed off about that kind of look.
I hate fruit.
So back to that point about like the medical stuff. It says here like that one guy, that one brute, Vorenus, that guy that got hurt when they first started duking it out. There's a line here that says, when they make it back to rapid conversion, Macubus would let the ship's automated surgery suite to do the rest when they're like patching that guy up. So they do have some like,
Okay,
you know,
that's true.
some
Okay.
med bay things.
Actually,
I would only assume so, but yeah.
Well, actually,
good job. Well,
Well, actually,
saved us 10 seconds on the next episode.
still don't see artificial limbs, so I don't care. Cool. No, I'm really liking this book overall as we kind of wrap up here on this episode. I love the backstory of the Covenant. I love the back and forth chapters between, again, how the Covenant is thinking about everything and how the humans are, and and now shit's getting hot and heavy.
Yeah, it's great stuff. I'm really liking it.
Also for audiobook readers, how they do grunt voices is funny.
They're always like out of breath.
Yeah, it's always out of breath, very slow, which I
Yeah,
would
we're
say is
just
very for
sucking
like
on parts all day.
Man, I got to listen to some of this audiobook then.
Spotify. It's for free. Just look it up.
Gonna have to.
Our sponsor today is Spotify.
Well, it seems like our discussion is over. So let's switch gears to our season 2 PvP tournament. And first, let's thank our sponsor, not Spotify this time, but it is Mr. Chef, the hit reality TV cooking show where regular stay-at-home dads come up with some crazy concoctions. The contestants have no AI or auto machinery help at all, just pure unadulterated skill. Cover your ears if you hate spoilers, but this past week featured some fine bites, such as PB&Js, grilled cheese, grilled PB&Js, and as the final challenge, buttered noodles. Be sure to tune in every Tuesday at 0400 hours on UNSC TV for these can't miss eats.
Tune in. UNSC TV, definitely where I watch.
Man, I just can't believe they use boiling water to cook noodles. That's just ingenious.
Yeah, the buttered noodles, man. That's
Stop
pretty
yourself. I'm
crazy.
learning new shit.
Man, Mr. Chef really pushing the envelope here.
All right, so recap of season 2, match 2. Will picked this last match, but wasn't present for the fight. With Jim also sitting out, once again, 4 of us battled it out with snipers and shotguns on Lockout in Halo 2. Despite leading the entire match, James couldn't quite close it out, and Charlie came in from behind with 1 kill to spare and grabbed the victory.
Woo!
Results of our third match in the tournament are as follows. We've got our leader with 11 points, James. With 7 right behind him, we've got Will.
Hell yeah.
Charlie climbing up, 6 points. Myself, Robby, I've got 5. Jim's right behind me with 4, and Tom is not too far behind either with 3. So all hail the wheel. Our next match selection goes to James. James, where are we battling out tonight?
So I've been in between 2 ideas, mainly because the book has, with the gravity hammer, really wants me to do a gravity hammer match. So we're gonna do free for all gravity hammers.
Oh, no.
There you go. That sounds like
Also Halo 3.
a map.
Mm,
Better not be snowbound again.
yeah. Let's do. My vote is gonna be Narrows. The bridge is fun. So my pick for the PvP match tonight is gonna be Halo 3 on Narrows, and we're gonna be doing free for all with gravity hammers.
Nice.
Nice. So as we close out tonight, let's take a moment to thank our future listeners. May your future listening comfort you along your great journey.
Great journey.
A
A
great
great
journey.
Great journey.
As a reminder, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at The Great Journey Pod. We're on most major podcast platforms, and we'd greatly appreciate a comment or follow on these platforms to help boost our visibility. What do you think of Contact Harvest? Let us know your input on the topics we discuss and even your ideas on how to improve or what we should cover next. We welcome you to join the journey. If you feel like supporting our show, you could also find us on Patreon at patreon.com/The Great Journey Pod. Contribution is greatly appreciated. Helps to offset costs of hosting platforms, editing software, music subscriptions, and of course the actual media, which are the things that allow this project to keep progressing. We aspire to be an interesting, thoughtful, and fun contribution to the Halo community. But as a TGJ Patreon member, you will receive a shout out live on one of our episodes. And should you choose, we will answer a question of yours on air as well. You know, you could be asking a question, and let's give an example tonight. What would your guys' Huragok names be? So you something like lighter than some. I think I'll start. I'll probably do slightly balding, or I don't know, maybe like one good knee.
Those are good. I didn't realize we were like moving away from a hurricane naming scheme though, and so I
Well, it's a
like
physical thing, right?
fair.
Fair, yeah.
Because I've gained some weight, I want to go with predisposed to sink. Is the one I'm going with.
Yeah,
Uh,
James, I'm with you. Mine was getting chunkier.
There you go.
Came up with concedes to libation.
Mm.
That's a
Also a
fancy
good one.
name.
Fancy, I know.
That's good. I'm gonna do dumber than most.
Will, are you there?
Yeah, no, I'm
What's your
thinking.
name?
I don't know.
Inarticulate to masses,
Uh,
aka dumber than most.
medicated the most.
I like it. Oh, well, you could ask us something like that, and we will answer it just as goofy as we just did. So look ahead as we wrap up the novel Contact Harvest. We will be covering the final chapters in this next episode, final chapters 18 all the way through the epilogue. So as always, thank you for joining us this evening, and we hope to see you back here for the next installment of The Great Journey.
The great
journey.
journey.
Good journey.
Hey, it's James, one of your hosts here on The Great Journey. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you want to connect with us, you can find us on most podcast platforms, as well as Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at The Great Journey Pod. If you'd like to support the show, you can do so at patreon.com/The Great Journey Pod. Thank you for your listenership, and we'll hope to see you for the next chapter of The Great Journey.
So we'll
He's
see
the
more of him.
he's the main bad guy in Halo 2.
Hey, you got to stop doing that. I'm gonna edit that out now.
Will can't have
No.
himself.
We can't spoil a 17-year-old game.
Just say
No.
and just bleep them out.
What if some other middle-aged guy listening to this hasn't played it?
Hey, we might be getting a lot of PlayStation players pretty soon. Who knows?
If you haven't played Halo 2, what are you doing with your life? Where you've been? You've been living in a cave?
They've been born after the game, sir. They don't even know what Halo is.